Okay, so today we're going to talk about the death of the old Featured Dojo Contest and the birth of the Star Chart Dojo Showcase. The Star Chart Dojo Showcase is actually just a prettied up version of the old contest with an additional contest as well, so it hosts two. The old version of the contest is now called the Star Chart Ascendant category. Nut! Meanwhile, the new category that was added in is called the Star Chart AllStars. We are going to briefly go over the new contest because it doesn't require a whole lot of description. And then we're going to go back to the old contest and talk about what has changed, because there have been things to clarify and streamline the process for everyone. And I think these are some really great changes that I think that if you ever plan on entering a dojo contest in the future, or if you've done it before and you ever plan on doing it again, these are things that you need to know. So the AllStars category is for anyone who has ever won a Featured Dojo Contest before, or going forward a Star Chart Dojo Showcase. Basically, if you have won before, that is a permanent mark on your clan. Kind of similar to how it doesn't matter if you change your name a whole bunch in game, they are still going to know who you are because you have a player ID. It doesn't matter what you do with your clan. If you change tiers, change your name, your clan has a clan ID, and they're always going to know who you are. So that win is always going to be tied to your clan. So in my case, I have won once. So if I enter a regular contest, I'm automatically going to be submitting for the AllStars bracket of the contest. I will not be considered at all for the regular contest, just because I've won before. With that, that's kind of a good thing. But the AllStars bracket only has one winner per platform, so 4 total period, and it doesn't matter what tier you're at. So that's another nifty thing. And so if, say, you do win, you can change tiers, and it doesn't matter because they're not going off of tiers, they're going off of platforms. And the winners are based solely on design. This has nothing to do with how many wins you've had in the past. There's no dings held against you. So technically, whoever wins these has the biggest EP-ness. If you do win the AllStars bracket, you get a platinum trophy, which we don't actually know what it looks like yet. I'd imagine it's not actually made, but we'll find out soon. And then instead of getting 1 month on the Star Chart, in addition to the featured dojos that get rotated out every month, you will be there for 3 months. So the quarter of the year, you're going to be up on the Star Chart with your dojo. So that's pretty nifty. You don't get any resource rewards. The rewards in this are just bragging rights, a shiny trophy that you're probably going to spam all over your dojo like the obnoxious child that you are, and then 3 months on the Star Chart. Once you have won, though, keep in mind you can never win in the AllStars bracket again. And then you're just back to participating in the relatively same older contests like you were before, with your wins held against you. And I would imagine, it's not specifically stated, but I would imagine that if you have won in the AllStars category, and then you go to participate in the Ascendant category, that you may not ever win there again, because the AllStars winning there is your ceiling, so to speak, that they've created for people that have won before that still wanted competition to go for. It's kind of like you're done with your current clan. At least you can start a new one and do something with that, and that's always an option. Now we're going to circle back to the Ascendant category, and we're going to talk about changes there in submissions. The changes to submissions also apply to the AllStars category. It just applies to submissions overall, but since it's a general change that's going to apply mostly to the Ascendant category, I wanted to kind of categorize it there. But they've changed a couple things. Basically, they've removed the request for you to include a feature image in your submission. They're still allowing you to include videos, and videos still have to be 3 minutes or under, which makes sense. Nobody wants to watch your 3-hour dojo tour like they did on the first contest when they mistakenly didn't include a video limit. And then now, instead of allowing approximately 300 images per room, as well as, you know, your childhood photo album and your submission without using any spoiler tags, they've now added a maximum of 10 images to be used in any given submission. Now, some of you are probably getting up in arms saying, Vash, how am I going to include 300 microscopic photos per room of my dojo, and how are they going to see my entire dojo? And the answer is, maybe they don't need to. Maybe 10 images, or 10 rooms, say, is all you actually need to win a contest. Now, a couple of you that have stuck around might be thinking, wow, that kind of sounds familiar, and you know what, it kind of rings a bell for me too. And I gotta wonder why. I'm kind of thinking that maybe some time ago, some guy guy put out some videos that tried to tell you things like you only need 10 rooms to win, or maybe 5 good rooms are better than 120 each poorly decorated shit ones. So I am definitely one to take the high road, so I'm just going to go ahead and say I fucking told you so, and then we'll move on. There are no changes in the rewards for the Ascendant category, so you don't need to stress if you're getting less or more now that there's a new category. They also took some effort to add some clarification to how they select dojos. Admittedly, the phrasing is not a whole lot better than it was before, but they made some changes in there that allow for less confusion that was occurring before, and I was talking to someone about this earlier. Basically, like, there's a phase 2 is a section that used to say small details like 3 times in it. And then I knew someone that got really hung up on that. And then they were taking things to the microscopic level of detail. And then they were getting upset that their work was getting overlooked. And they were like, I don't get it. Like, look, there's my small detail. They wanted small detail. But now they've kind of changed the phrasing there to not say small detail several times in a fucking row. So that kind of helps resolve that one. They also included advice from experts, and I mean, this is there if you want it. That's me. The only conundrum with this is that everyone has a different take. And now I recognize the irony in me advising you this, but I advise that you just don't read that and just do your own thing. And I get that's ironic, but basically there's several varying opinions there, drastically varying to a degree, and reading that isn't going to help you. I don't believe, at least. Maybe it will. Okay, now let's talk about what this means for the future of contests. The act of separating the winners from the regular contests forcefully, by the way, pretty much alleviates a shitload of anxiety that a lot of newer decorators encounter. This was something that came up in some guy's videos once, where someone asked, Frizzle said, it seems like starting fresh is a very tall mountain to climb compared to other clans that have prior decorations they can build upon and fall back on. Meanwhile, a first timer does not. Yes and no. And at the time I said basically that it doesn't really matter because the things that people have built up on are out of date, old, and irrelevant. So you should be focusing on using the newer things available because those are the things that are more relevant to the current contest. But now people don't even have to stress about going up against older clans because for the most part they are forcefully moved into the AllStars bracket where they have to fight other people who have already won, and then new people can duke it out in the Ascendant bracket and do their own thing there. And so this, from what I understand at least, I've met a lot of decorators that were incredibly anxious. They're like, I don't want to enter if there's these people or those people or that person entered, so now I don't want to bother at all. And I feel like this removes all of their hesitation entirely from that, so they don't have to stress that anymore, which is fantastic. I would hope that we can see a surge of newer participants that we hadn't seen in any years prior in these next few contests because of this change, which is fantastic. The other thing this does that relieves a shitload of anxiety for newer decorators. Decorators? Wow, I don't know why I'm talking like this, shoot me please, is the 10 image limit, because I know people, and I'm looking at you, Dr. Lego, that have always been like, I need approximately 50,000 more rooms before I can submit. But the 10 image limit is such a good move because it forces people to consider what is actually worth submitting. And then if you have 10 rooms you're proud of, which I don't know who said that before, then you can submit those, and that's all you need to win. You don't have to have a fully decorated dojo because that takes an insane amount of time if you do it correctly. And if you've done it incorrectly, then it looks like shit and you're just gonna lose anyway. So for me at least, like, I love this change because I feel there's going to be a lot more people that give it a shot because it's not as intimidating, it's a lot more welcoming. It's practically beckoning to newer people, which hopefully can address the issue that I kind of mentioned when I did my spreadsheet statistics over all the past dojo contests, and I talked about how I was afraid that dojo contests were dying. At least the numbers kind of showed that, and I'm hoping that this can help change that. But otherwise, The current contests are just a lot more streamlined. They're a lot more welcoming. They're a lot more thoughtful and direct. And I know that the rules aren't necessarily any more specific than they were before. They don't necessarily clarify anything better than they did before, but the changes themselves point to a far less stressful endeavor than what people had been believing a dojo contest was. And so that's a great change in my book. And in case some of you are curious why I'm bothering to go out of my way to clarify things on this new contest format, this current contest format was the last thing that I worked on before I left the Dojo Quality of Life group earlier this month. And I realized after I left that I didn't have any video or any actual official information saying that I ended up leaving. But I did leave earlier this month just to cut back on a couple things. I'm focusing on my health. If you're curious exactly what's going on with that, watch the 2K special announcement. I go into a kind of jumbled explanation there, but that explains what's going on. Otherwise, I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood exactly why these changes were being made, why they are a good thing, and what it can hopefully mean for the future of contests. Okie dokie, today we're going to be talking about the death of the... Okie dokie, today we're going to be talking about the death of the Featured Dojo Contest and the birth of the Star Chart Okie dokie, today we're here to talk about the death of the Featured Dojo Contest as well as the birth of the I would love to make this video if I could just get past the tongue twister that is apparently the first line